Hey everybody, Joshua Laycock here. I took my mom to the hospital today. It was a procedure that was routine. Everything's okay. But this hospital that we've been to a few times has really insufficient parking. It's always an issue. There's always a small amount of parking, and what happens is people circulate within this parking lot waiting for spots, right? They creep behind you waiting to find parking spots if you're walking back to your car. It is what it is. And it's interesting, you have to steel yourself going into this, because it is absolutely freaking ridiculous watching the human beings interact with each other within this parking lot. Now, I get it, it's a hospital, and nobody's there for awesome things. Even if you're there to pick up a kid, it's always stressful. So I understand that it's a pressure cooker of an environment. But it is shocking to me how poorly people behave in this contained environment. People are jockeying for position, they're cutting in front of people, they're honking at everybody. And it just kind of reminds me of life and the rat race that people, I don't know, allow themselves to de-evolve so quickly. And as I'm going through this process, even my mom, who was there with me, we were waiting for a spot, an individual. Like, you have a tactic, right? You can either circle, or you can wait for your, sort of stake your ground, and if someone leaves in front of you, you take that spot. So we were kind of hanging out, and this person walked up and jumped in their car, and as they were pulling away, someone just like cut in front and took the spot. And my mom was gonna lose it. She was gonna cut someone. And, I said to her, like, can you just chill? I mean, I know that you're here for your thing, and we've got time, because we knew this was gonna happen. Just gotta let it go, right? This is not worth having. This is not the fight that's worth having here. Because what's the win, right? There's no win here. And I don't know, the few things I was thinking about this as my mom was in having the procedure, and I've dropped her home. She's okay, but it's funny the things that you take from these weird situations. And one is, leave yourself time. How often do we drive like maniacs or allow seemingly insignificant events to really frustrate us? It's probably when we're running late, right? Like when we're running late, which is our fault, or we haven't left ourselves enough time, we haven't anticipated how things could go pear-shaped, we're freaking out because we're running late and we take it out on everybody else. So the first lesson that I learned on these things is leave yourself enough time. I mean, in this particular situation, I knew that the parking was going to be crazy and we were going to circle for 10, 15 minutes. So we did very deliberately allow ourselves enough time. And yes, some people might have been caught off guard, but in life, you have to leave yourself a little bit of margin for error. You can't run it so tight that you allow yourself to run behind, particularly if you're going to something like a hospital. Chances are good it's important while you're there. So leave yourself time. Today didn't suck because we had more than enough time. There are going to be times in life where things are stressful, where they are frustrating, where we're going to be dealing with sort of a mob mentality where it brings out the worst in people. For us, Costco on a Saturday morning is absolutely chaos. When you anticipate walking into these scenarios, well, first of all, I guess, is one, anticipate it. Don't be caught off guard by something that happens every single time that you're there. But secondly, go into this anticipating something silly and be prepared to laugh about it. Be prepared to laugh it off. Like, literally, when I was there and I was watching these people spin around and freak out, you have to laugh. You have to look at the ridiculousness of the situation where people are absolutely losing their minds over something that is largely irrelevant. The inability to find a parking spot. And there's a couple things to remind yourself of that. Is one, if you can see that and you can laugh off a tough situation, man, you can gut through just about anything. You know, in a tough race, if you can laugh about it in the middle of a race, if you can see the hilarity of the ridiculousness, your stress levels go way down. But also, remember how those people look when they're losing their shit over something as silly as a parking spot. And remember that next time that you are on the verge of losing your mind. Imagine how you look to the people around you when you are totally losing it. So that was the other thing that I thought about today is you got to be able to laugh at tough situations. It's such an amazing cure to stress. Another thing is, talking to my mom about this situation is, you got to pick your battles. I mean, there's going to be a time to go to war, literally, figuratively, however you want to cut it. But you better know what the upside and the downside is. There's got to be some real meaning behind these actions, right? People will throw down at the drop of a hat. And for what? You know, and I don't know if my mom was just frustrated at the situation, if she was nervous about the procedure that she was dealing with or whatever, but you really need to pick your battles, because if you're going to war all the time, one, you're going to be exhausted. You just are. But second of all, the upside, you're just introducing so much more downside into your life than the potential outcome. You really have to pick your battles. And then the other thing, the last thing that I would say that's kind of in line with being able to laugh at a situation is disarm the situations with kindness and empathy. You know, so once we finally parked and we were able to go in, the intake was just crazy at this hospital. They do a great job, but the intake was crazy, and the woman who was helping us was really stressed out. And within 10 seconds, you could tell she was just not having a great day. Really curt, clippy, moving really quickly. It's a very tough job. And all I had to say was, "How are you doing today? You okay?" And she kind of stopped and looked at me and smiled, and she went, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just a bit of a bonkers day." And then she was a pleasure to work with. And the ability to disarm a frustrating situation with kindness. We don't have to win situations. We don't have to win encounters all the time. Sometimes we can stop an encounter before it starts by being kind and recognizing that the other person is having a hell of a day. It's the same with that woman who was desperate for my parking spot. I don't know, maybe she's lazy, maybe she's rude, or maybe she's going to visit a loved one who's dying. You know, maybe that guy who's honking his horn at everybody has just learned some devastating piece of news and just wants to get the hell away from the hospital. I don't know. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt and react with kindness and react with empathy. And I know it's a trend and a lot of people are talking about this, but I think it's true. And look, there's a time you got to stand up for yourself, and there's a time where you have to be strong, and there's a time where you have to be tough, and you have to say enough is enough. But those are few and far between. Most often, you can look at a situation and say, I've got enough time. This is absolutely ridiculous. Look how silly everyone is. Why don't we diffuse this situation with kindness and move on? So it's always a learning experience going to the hospital, going where humans are stressed and literally confined with in and out signs, and where we have a scarcity mindset, 600 cars and 500 parking spots. So good lessons today, but the best lesson of all is that all the results came back and everything is fine. And my mom is at home and she's good. I'm picking up my daughter. I'm going to pick up my son, and we're going to have a nice dinner as a family, and we can be very grateful for the outcome of the day. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.